So we see Elijah going into exile here, being persecuted for what? Well, throughout the time that Elijah was with Ahaz, that wicked king, especially with his wife Jezebel, he was persecuted for preaching the integrity of the Jewish religion, which is there is but one God and one God alone, and to him you owe all of your strength, love. Hold on, how's it go? The Lord is God. The Lord your God is God alone. Therefore, you shall love the Lord your God with all your strength, heart, soul, and mind, and and then ultimately love your neighbor as yourself, as Jesus unites there. And this is what Elijah was preaching, and he was exiled because, of course, they had all the Baals and all of the pagan worship in Israel at the time. Well, he goes out into exile, and you're thinking to yourself, well, that's kind of cool, maybe because he's got ravens bringing him bread and meat, and that'd be kind of neat to see the ravens feeding you. But I'm sure that gets old pretty quick, and they're ravens, so it's kind of gross, right? And then he's drinking water by a stream, so that's kind of nice. But then maybe even in the next paragraph, the stream dries up, and he's begging God to kill him. Right? He's like, Lord, this is awful. This is just horrible. My life is not the way that I wanted it to be. I was serving you. I was doing exactly what you called me to do. In fact, I know it's exactly what you. I mean, so many times we have doubts. We're like, yeah, I think I'm doing what God wants me to do, but we kind of have doubts. Elijah exactly knew because ravens are feeding him. I mean, it's like there's a sign there that you're doing exactly what the Lord wants you to do. And despite that, his life just gets so hard. He's out in the wadi. He's out in the desert. The stream dries up. Maybe the ravens start bringing him like rye bread instead of like good bread, because rye bread's horrible. And so he's not even enjoying his bread anymore. And he's just begging God, just take my life. Just be done with it. He's not going to take his own life, but he's just begging God. He's like, oh, God, please, just end this nonsense, right? And this is the kind of the depth of sort of agony of spirit, the senseless persecution of those who, for whatever insane reason, seek to follow evil, persecute those who speak the truth, right? And I don't mean in some sort of self-righteous way, like, I told them the truth and they rejected it. But like in the most loving way, like Elijah tries all sorts of ways to get Israel to convert. And he's just persecuted for it. John the Baptist, right? I mean, all John the Baptist is doing is saying, hey, man, marriage is really a thing. You can't be sleeping with your brother's wife. This should be obvious, right? And they cut his head off. So it's not as if we have to be some great heralds anymore. But we speak basic truths and we can be persecuted. Jesus knows this, and so he gives us this sort of beautiful progression here of what's called the Beatitudes. Now, the Beatitudes are in a prime position to be co-opted for social justice warfare, but there's nothing in any of these Beatitudes that have really anything to do with the corporal world, right? Social justice is all about feeding the hungry and establishing equity within communities, and there's nothing intrinsically wrong with that. But when people try to take the gospel and turn it into, well, Jesus is just a good teacher and he came to tell us to love the poor. Well, he actually said the poor will be with you always. So don't try to solve poverty. This is basically what Jesus is saying, right? But if we look at these, what Jesus is doing is he's saying So he's not saying, in the Beatitudes, he's not saying feed the hungry, right? Or he's not saying, hey, you're blessed when you're poor. Jesus is not saying it's a good thing to be poor here either. He's not saying blessed are you when you're poor. These are all spiritual dispositions. They have nothing to do with material world. Nothing. They're all spiritual dispositions, okay? So what's he say? He says, blessed are you poor in spirit. Right? For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And what that means is recognizing that what I long for is out of my reach. What I really long for peace, joy, felicity, right? An end to my concupiscence, a reordering of my conscience, forgiveness, right? These things are outside of I need these, and I am poor without them, and I cannot get them myself. So someone poor in spirit is well disposed to cry out to the Lord to receive what they really need. Blessed are those who mourn. Right? And we're mourning this fact, this fallenness, this sinfulness of the poverty of our spirit. And Jesus says, you'll be comforted because I will provide for you. Blessed are the meek. Now, we have to understand meekness is not weakness. Meekness is a restraint from over-exercising a power that one has. Right? So a meek person, Moses was called the meekest man alive, right? And he had control over wind and wave and fire, and I mean he could have done all sorts of things. God gave him the power to destroy the entire house of Israel, and he said, "No, we don't want to do that." That's meekness, right? Meekness is not. So let's be. This is all a little disjointed. I wasn't planning on preaching this morning, but. Sometimes people will say, I'm a peaceful person, but they're pathetic and weak and have no power to do violence anyways. That's not a virtue. When a weak person speaks of peace, they're not a peaceful person. When a person who can do violence and chooses not to because they value peace, that's a virtuous person. Right? I'm not saying a person's wrong for being weak and not being violent, right? Or saying they're peaceful. I'm just saying that that's not a virtue, right? To not be able to do something and then say it's good to not do it, that's not virtuous. To be able to do something and restrain oneself from doing it for a greater good, that's virtue, right? It's within that kind of person that meekness is found, right? To be able to tear someone down with your words and create some great defense for your own innocence and point the guilt at another person, but choosing not to do that, right? And maybe even taking on a little bit more blame than is truly yours in order to preserve the goodness of that other person. That's a virtue, right? That's a self-sacrificial act, right? To be able to do that and then choose not to, right? So just to be clear, meekness is very, very much misunderstood, right? And Jesus is not saying, blessed are the weak. You shouldn't be weak. Nobody in this room should be weak. Everybody in this room should strive for the strength to be able to say to the Lord, I will lay down my life for you if needs be. And that's the ultimate strength. Every single person in this room. It is not good for you to be weak. It is good for you to be really, really, really strong and exercise that strength in meekness. Right? It's in that the Lord says you'll be blessed. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Now, he's not saying blessed are you because you're hungry and you're thirsty and nobody's giving you food. Who hunger and thirst for righteousness. And everyone here is hungering and thirsting for that, right? We see so many inequities, so many unnatural behaviors in our culture, within ourselves and within our culture, and we say, Lord, this is not right. I want things to be well. I want things to be good. I want things to be ordered. I want things to be righteous. And we're unsatisfied until that happens, which means we're going to be unsatisfied our whole life because that's not going to happen in this world, right? We need to be prepared for that, right? The fact that what we really crave is never going to be satisfied in this world, right? So when we're unhappy, when we're disjointed, when we feel dislocated, when we feel alienated, when we feel uncomfortable, that's okay. It's not that life has gone crazy and we're failing. We're never going to establish what we really want in this life, which means we're always going to feel a little bit upset. right? But in that, the Lord says that you're blessed because you're looking beyond that. You're hoping beyond that. You know that there's something beyond this in which you're going to be satisfied because the Lord is merciful, right? Blessed are those who show mercy. Blessed are those who are clean of heart. That is to say, chaste, right? Chaste in their approach to other people. And chastity, Deacon Arturo sort of mentioned something about chastity on Sunday. What did I say? Did I? Yeah, well. Yeah. He's still a deacon too. Father Arturo mentioned something about chastity. Chastity is oftentimes talked strictly in the sexual sense, and that's appropriate for it to happen that way. But chastity is really nothing more than appropriately ordered communion with another person. Because we can be unchaste in a certain sense when we try to dominate another person. Right? When we try to utilize another person, when we try to make another person simply a utility for our benefit or our use, you can kind of look at that as an unchastity, right? It's most clearly seen when we use other people in a disordered way for our sexual pleasure. That's unchaste sexual behavior, right? What chaste sexual behavior is sexual behavior that is oriented appropriately for what purpose? Within marriage, for the good of the spouse, and always open to children. That's chaste sexuality. Which is why St. Paul says, keep the marital bed chaste. He's not saying don't have relations with your spouse. He's saying do the thing the right way. Which means there is a wrong way to do it, which means marriage is not a license to do whatever you want sort of behind closed doors and in bed. And this is why people are sometimes like, tell the church to get out of my business. Get your rosaries off my ovaries. Well, no, this is, have you guys not heard that? That's one of the signs that those horrible witches hold outside of the wherever they happen to be, saying, man, let's sacrifice our babies to demons. Woo! Right? That's one of the things they hold up. Get your rosaries off my ovaries. So, but it is absolutely important for the church to articulate chastity, chaste love, because this is what Jesus is talking about here. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they will see God. What happened when Adam and Eve fell? They hid themselves from God. They closed their eyes like a little child who says, if I can't see the monster can't see me. They closed their eyes to God. They had become unchaste, disordered in their relationships with God, with themselves, with one another, with the environment. That's why Jesus says, blessed are the clean. So, and then he goes on to persecutions for the sake of righteousness and for when people insult you. And he's leading up to this, right? Because this is ultimately what a Christian is really hoping for. You look at Saint Ignatius of Antioch, and he says, he's in chains, right, on his way to be eaten by lions. He says, brothers, do not try to save me. If you try to break me out, I'm going to be really, really mad at you. Right? But rather give me the courage to face my martyrdom with a love for the Lord. Do not try to preserve me from death, because then my voice will be meaningless, but allow me to suffer suffer the fate of martyrdom, that my voice, which preaches the gospel, might be heard for every generation. That's what every Christian should hope for martyrdom. Every single Christian should hope for martyrdom. And so that way, when the persecution comes, we recognize this is what I'm about. This is what my life is about. And Jesus is trying to prepare us for that and build us up and mature us through these Beatitudes. These Beatitudes it's like a progressive training for martyrs. It's like, for those of you who really want to go to heaven, here are the Beatitudes. Boom. It's not something nice given to us. It's an exercise plan. It's a spiritual roadmap. Do these things. Begin doing these things. Progress through these things. Grow up in these things, and you'll be blessed. And so when we get to the point like where Isaiah is, Elijah, not Isaiah, I knew it was wrong. when we get to the point where Elijah is, and he's just begging the Lord, Lord, just take my life. Just end this. This is horrible. We can go back through and recognize the gift that Jesus gave us in these Beatitudes. The kingdom of heaven will be yours. You'll be comforted. You'll inherit the land. You'll be satisfied. You'll be shown mercy. You'll see God. You'll be called children of God. Yours is the kingdom of heaven. These are the promises God makes to you and to me who pursue His providence, who pursue His will, and seek to exercise true charity towards all, and to love the Lord our God with all our strength, heart, soul, and mind, that these will be for ours. So when life gets tough, know that it's probably okay. Maybe you need to go to confession. That might be why it's tough. But if you don't, and life is tough anyways, it's okay. You're a Christian. Life's supposed to be tough. And we will pursue, we will persist, we will endure, we will be fortified, we will conquer. And then all of these promises the Lord makes to us will be fulfilled.